Morning, everyone. I'm here to talk about the new moon in Sagittarius that happens tonight. And I was anticipating doing a very simple short reading, but the stars and the sun had another plan. So first, let me just share the Sabian symbol with you for this new moon. And it's a child and a dog with borrowed eyeglasses, walking in the shoes of a master. So it's pretty amazing that this Sabian symbol aligns with a lot of other things that are happening in the sky right now. There is the peak of the Geminids meteor shower tonight, and these meteors actually come from an asteroid that was named Phaeton, that basically exploded into a bunch of different pieces of dust and stars, and this is what we see now as this meteor shower. So Phaeton was the son of Helios, the sun god, and Helios would drive his chariot across the sky every day, and Phaeton, his son, would tell people he was the son of this god. And people wouldn't believe him. They would make fun of him. So he went to his father and he told them how he was being made fun of, and he begged him to borrow his chariot. And I love this. It reminds me of like a kid who like hasn't gotten their driver's license yet, asking to borrow the car. And Helios gives in. And but he's worried. He's like, oh man, like these fiery horses are so hard to control. Even Zeus wouldn't drive the chariot, and I'm about to let my son drive it. And he asks him like, okay, I want to change my mind, but the gods can't go back on their word. So his son ends up driving the chariot, and he loses control immediately, and he crashes into what is thought to be Egypt, and causes the land to dry out into desert. And actually, part of the myth says that some of the people are burned, and this is why some people have darker skin now, which I thought was fascinating. And it sort of speaks to this, like, to division and duality a little bit, right? So he ends up being killed by Zeus after this. And then his body is lifted and healed, and he's laid to rest at what is known as the Po River in Italy. And his sisters, the Hyliades, are turned into poplar trees along the river to protect him, and they grieve him. So something that also happened last night is the asteroid Leona crossed the star Betelgeuse, which is in the constellation of Orion. And it's bizarre. I had a dream last night. Speaking of walking in master's shoes, I've had the amazing privilege of studying with some great teachers this weekend and interviewing astrologer Kelly Hunter yesterday. And last night I had this dream that she was healing. It was Kelly in my dream. She was healing my right shoulder. And I thought, that is so strange. And this morning, as I'm investigating Betelgeuse, I find out it's the right shoulder of Orion. And that's associated with our masculine side. So something else really interesting is that we're coming up to an 8-year. And I did an astro forecast with my dear friend Stevie Callista of Farmhouse Moon. And the strength card came up to sort of give us an idea of the energy of an 8-year. And I've been looking through all of my tarot decks, and there was this one strength card I didn't really want to bring up. And as I'm researching Orion this morning, it turns out the depiction on this card is Orion, the depiction of Orion. And, you know, in the Rider-Waite, the strength card is this woman feeding the lion a pill. And it's showing how we like tame our lower nature. In this card, it feels much more violent. It's more like a hunt, right? With Orion clubbing this lion. So we've got Leona, the asteroid, crossing the right shoulder of this guy right here. And the Latin root of Leona is lioness. And we have also happening on a grander scale right now, the Leo metagoddess of Venus. We're going through her morning star cycle. We just had the heart chakra gate release, which interestingly is right up here in the shoulders too. And so it feels like this eclipse of Leona passing through the right shoulder, which is a dying star, by the way, is it feels like a welcome for us to heal this shoulder, this masculine side that feels it needs to dominate rather than to, you know, look through these eyes of commonality. And so another thing that came up, there's more. This is like a sky weather report today. There was a huge coronal hole in the sun today. And when I looked at the picture of it, this is before I start getting into all these myths, I think, that looks like a river. Look at that. And this really, it's like showing us that river where Phaeton crashed his chariot. It was thought to have created the Nile when he crashed in, or it may have damaged the Nile, but it looks like a river in the sun. And then there's going to be, it says these solar winds are going to start arriving from this coronal hole, will start arriving on Earth within the next 3 days. It's also 12/12, so there's just a ton happening right now in the sky. I would highly suggest going outside and looking at the Geminid meteor showers tonight, and I think tomorrow night. Since it's a new moon, the sky will be really dark, so we'll be able to see them really well if it's not too cloudy. I'm really hoping that it's not too cloudy and I can see these meteors tonight, because it feels like there is some powerful healing that's available to us from the ancestors, our star ancestors and beyond, you know, like our earth ancestors too. So the other thing, notice this theme keeps coming up, is like how Phaeton, he couldn't control the chariot, right? And it's this, he couldn't control this great power. And it feels like we're really being asked to be able to control ourselves. That feels like the invitation that's been around for a long time, right? But it's being highlighted right now, you know. Instead of having this, I'm seeing like lowering the club and putting the hand on the heart and checking in with ourselves and seeing, where do we have power over ourselves? Where can we have discipline to make our life the way we want it, you know, to live in harmony on our own, and then that then allows us to spread that from that inner place and inner harmony. So I wanted to pull a few cards just to see what other messages might come through around this new moon, because it's a lot. It's a lot of information, but I think the way the stories are coming together from the sky is just so beautiful. So let's take a card from this Tree of Life. Ooh, personality triangle. Personality, nature, mindfulness. I'm going to have to look this guy up. Let's see here. Here we go. It's the lowest triangle and the most material one, the one humanity works in most of all. The combined forces of this triangle offer the human experiences of art, nature, communication, emotion, and intuition, to name but a few. It's easier to relate to things you can see, hear, touch, taste, and smell, and even to the world of dreams, than it is to work with forces higher up the tree of life. This card asks you to look at personality matters that are clouding your judgment, conversations that have gotten out of hand, a romantic encounter that isn't going as planned, or a lack of clarity about what you want to manifest in your life. You may notice the struggle between your thoughts and your emotions, delaying some decision. Which way to go, head or heart? Perhaps it's time to seek the counsel of a friend or family member, someone who can help you set new foundations to gain some sort of victory over the to and fro you're going through. You could be called to use your intuitive and or psychic gifts. Perhaps some sort of formal training and other opportunities will present themselves at this time. And this is a super intuitive new moon. I forgot to mention that. That card kind of reminded me. The moon is squaring Neptune, so we could have a lot of dreams, a lot of intuitive hits coming through, and also, oh, I lost my train of thought there for a second. A lot of intuitive hits, dreams. Oh, and emotions. Emotions could be arising as well. And I feel like that card did really bring us back down to earth on how are we looking at the things that are happening in our life, and where do we need to make adjustments. And something else that's coming up is that Phaeton, his father said to take the middle way, you know, when he was directing this chariot. That's how he would find balance. And so it's interesting. It's kind of showing us like where we need to tame the ego and slow down. And with Mercury stationing retrograde, that's also an invitation to slow down in working towards our goals, and also reiterates that idea of working with a master as well, Capricorn. So let's see what I want to ask about the River of Po. When I went to look up the River of Po, where Phaeton was laid to rest, I saw that it's actually drying up, which is interesting symbolism as well. I kind of saw like, you know, it's interesting. I saw like tears filling the river back up, and it gives me this feeling that we're too dried out. We need to feel our emotions and reintroduce this feminine energy to our consciousness. This came up in the last reading. Inner power, unbridled confidence, claiming your place. Well, that is what Phaeton did as well, right? But we need to be careful. We need to do it in a way where we have controls of the chariot. I want to ask Isis, what is the significance of this eclipse of Leona going over Betelgeuse? The Egyptians, it was thought that they thought this right shoulder was symbolic of Isis in some of the myths. What does Leona have to teach us in this eclipse with Betelgeuse? Wow, stay true and be in your power. Osiris and Isis, Lord and Lady of divine authority. Wow, this is so interesting. It's funny because I think what this is saying, I might have been misinterpreting this a little bit about I think it's always good to keep the ego in balance, but it's about reclaiming our divine power. And that's not like taking the chariot and driving it across the sky and crashing it. It's a quiet power, right? And staying true to yourself. And I wanted to pull something more earthly. to bring us back to the earth element for my Sacred Destiny card. And I want to ask, what is the invitation on this new moon? Wow, purity. The sun is very purifying. And it's interesting to think of the sun and the moon together. It's really interesting. Purifying. That waterfall feels very purifying as well. Okay, one more. Let's see what goddess would like to come through for this new moon with any other messages that we may need. Oh, Newt mystery. Look at that. Look at the stars above her. And this is what has been speaking all day, all morning. This is like the mystery of what's above and how it mirrors what's down below. And as I was speaking to Kelly yesterday, we were talking about how we're living in she said it's a living mystery. It's constantly shifting. So just because this may be the old story, this may not be the same story right now. And there's always different invitations with each story. I mean, you definitely can see that with a lot of humanity right now. But it takes us wanting to change and wanting to purify, get back into the heart, connect with the mystery again, connect with the earth, to become realigned with that middle way so we can drive our chariot responsibly from sun up until the sun goes down, and then we get to surrender into the dream state again. So I want to return one more second to this Sabian symbol of the child and the dog with borrowed eyeglasses. It's like coming into the purity of the heart of the child and the dog, and then the borrowed eyeglasses are the adults, right? And it's like we're also looking through the lens of our experience and driving our chariot from that place, and also learning from others, learning from our elders, and learning from people with experience, but being sure to access that wisdom from within. There's a childlike wisdom in the innocence of our child self, and just loving that child, and really holding ourselves in a safe place, not needing the validation of others like Phaeton did, I think is a way that we can find balance. And one other thing I have to mention about Phaeton, I actually visited Phaeton Rock, which is this beautiful dolmen in Massachusetts back in October. And when I was there, I saw all these beautiful lights shining off of the rocks. Like I could see the stone beings. And the root Phaeos is light. It can mean shining one, light bringer. So that lives within us all, and we all just, when we can access that and know it to be true, then that's when we're really standing in our power. So just, today is a really great day to bring some of that inner light into your own awareness and be creative with it, and feel whatever needs to be felt, observe the stars, sink into the earth, and just have a beautiful new moon. All right, love you guys.